Hey, welcome back, Sons of Russ. This is Nick from Beer and Bat Reps, and we are back with our 9th edition Space Wolves Tactica. And this week, or this video, I'll be talking about one of my favorite units in fluff, and they're pretty handy on the board as well, and that is the Fenrisian Wolves. A lot of people overlook these, going for the more flashy Thunderwolf Cavalry, or just not using either and going Primaris. But I really think the fluff and lore behind them and just the vibe they put out. I mean, Primaris armies are dominating the battlefield right now, and you get to be the one unique Primaris army that can have wolves sprinkled throughout in between your Primaris units. Like, it's just so awesome. So today I'm going to be talking about the fluff. We're going to go over the statistics, the points. We're going to go over ways to use them, including the way I personally use them, which is more smite spam, defense, board control, objective holding, screening, little ways like that, not necessarily brute strength. And then I'll also go over the stratagems and tactics you can use in order to just have the wolves pounce on the prey. If you really want to use them to fight, there's a couple ways you can do it, and I'll go over that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over the lore. The wolves of Fenris are legendary beasts whose lives are inextricably linked with those of the human tribes that share their ice-bound planet. Over the millennia, these gigantic lupines have become an integral part of the brotherhood of the Space Wolves. Very few know the sheer diversity of wolves that exist upon Fenris. These range from the common but nonetheless deadly Fenrisian wolf to the hulking black-maned wolf, all the way up to the infamous Thunderwolf that prowls the northernmost ice caps. The wolves of Fenris are among the most vicious predators in the known universe. They roam the tundra of Fenris and are numerous in the vast lands of Asaheim that lie around the foot of the mountains of the Vanguard. Fenrisian wolves obey the natural order of their kind, hunting in groups and instinctively obeying pack dynamics, with the largest and most ferocious of their kind functioning as the alpha male. The alpha makes the pack's decisions, faces down external threats and challengers to his position alike, and enjoys the first pick of not only the kill, but also the female members of the pack. This is a position much respected by the savage menfolk of Fenris, many of whom strive to emulate the alpha male in their own social groupings. Fenrisian wolves range from man-size to the size of a snow lion. They have shaggy manes, powerful shoulders, and overdeveloped iron-hard teeth. It is considered a great feat for a battle brother of the Space Wolves chapter to hunt down a pack of these supernaturally ferocious beasts armed with nothing but his wits. This ritual is known as the Lone Hunt. Should the battle brother somehow kill the alpha male of a Fenrisian wolf pack, the rest of the wolves will instinctively treat him as their new alpha male, and when he returns successful to the Fang, he does so in the company of wolves. Many of these new packmates form a lasting attachment, having a great respect for their new leader, and from the moment they will fight at their master's side until one or both of them die in battle. Such is the bond between the Space Wolves and their beasts that it is not unheard of for a Fenrisian wolf critically injured in battle to be mechanically augmented by the chapter's Iron Priests so that it may live to fight another day. Alright, let's take a look at their statistics. So Fenrisian Wolves as a unit is just power level 2, and it comes with 5 wolves. They have movement 10 inches, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill dash. They have no ballistic skill. Strength 4, toughness 4, wounds 1, attacks 2, leadership 4, and saves 6+. They can include 1 Cyberwolf, which increases the power rating by 1, and a Cyberwolf has movement 10, weapon skill 3+, ballistic skill nothing, Strength 4, Toughness 4, Wounds 2, Attacks 3, Leadership 6, and Save 4+. So he's tougher, he has more wounds, he has better save, he has another attack. Honestly, I like to keep my units as cheap as possible, so I usually don't add the Cyberwolf, but I can see the reason, especially for leadership. And speaking of leadership, here's their abilities. One is called Pack Mentality. Add 1 to the unit's leadership if it contains 6 or more models, or add 2 instead if the unit contains 10 or more models. So, with the Cyberwolf, he starts at 6, and if you had 10 or more models, you could add 2. So they could have leadership 8. It's not bad. With the new 9th edition way of doing morale, I don't worry too much about it. You know, if I fail my leadership test, I lose 1, and then, you know, every 1 I roll, I could lose a few more. Let's take a look at their weapons. So they're armed with teeth and claws. Range is melee, type is melee, strength is user, which is 4, AP -1, 1 damage. You know, nothing special, but AP -1, hey, that's as good as a new Astartes chainsword. So we'll take it. Those teeth and claws hit hard. They also have the Swift Hunter's ability, which I forgot to mention, which is reroll charge rolls for this unit. Very helpful. Faction keywords are Imperium, Adeptus Astartes, Space Wolves. Keywords are Beast and Fenrisian Wolves. So, in terms of stats, you're looking at 1 wound with a 6-up save, T4. So they die to a stiff breeze. It's something you should know right off the bat. I'm going to tell you how much I love this unit and how I use it on the battlefield, but I will let you know 10 guardsmen shooting at them can kill the whole unit. At least they have T4, so they'll make those guardsmen win on 5s. But I mean, they just, if your enemy focuses on them, they're gonna die. They're gonna die right away. But honestly, my mindset is every shot towards my wolves are shots not at my dreadnoughts or my assault intercessors. So I'm very happy. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at some stratagems that are specifically for them. So stratagems that they can actually employ are very few and far between. You have all the generic ones from the rulebook, obviously, but in terms of actual Space Wolf ones, you have to turn to the Psychic Awakening book, and there's one for 1 CP called Pack Hunters. It says, Fenrisian Wolves see Sons of Russ as true pack makes. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when a Fenrisian Wolves or Cyber Wolves unit from your army is chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit, if that unit is within 3 inches of a friendly Space Wolf infantry or Space Wolf cavalry unit, you can re-roll the hit roll. So basically, any Space Wolf infantry model or Thunderwolf cavalry, just become a chapter master to these. So for 1 CP, as long as you're close to some non-wolves or dreadnoughts, basically, you can just re-roll all your misses. So that's pretty handy. We'll definitely go back over this when we're discussing all the layers and tactics you can do if you want to use these to fight in our Tactica section. So with that being said, there's one other, it's kind of funny. It's the most infamous stratagem for all of Space Marines, not just Space Wolves, and that's transhuman physiology for 2 CP. Basically, a wound roll unmodified of 1 through 3 always fails. You know it, you hate it, unless you're a Space Marines player, and then you love it. It's very, very, very powerful. I don't know why you would spend the 2 CP to protect your wolves like this, but maybe if you had a full pack of 20, then yeah, maybe you would pop this to make it so that you can only wound these guys on a 4-up. But with toughness 4, I mean, bolters are wounding them on a 4-up anyway, and guardsmen and grots and things like that are wounding them on 5s. So I don't see this ever coming into play, but keep it in your back pocket. If they're sitting on an objective that you need to hold to win the game and you had CP left, sure, pop transhuman physiology and watch your wolves be super hard to budge. All right, so I'm going to go over some tactics. First up is the way I use them. Basically, my army revolves around incredibly aggressive combat and shooting units. So as I've mentioned before in the past, I run almost all dreadnoughts. And then in my main list, my main like tournament style list is 9 or 10 dreadnoughts with Ragnar and Bjorn and Murderfang. And since they all push forward for the most part, there's a couple shooty dreadnoughts that'll grab midfield objectives like the Leviathan dreadnought and the Contemptor Mortis dreadnought. But I need something to hold the backfield, and I usually end up with at least 35 points left over. Lo and behold, 35 points gets you 5 wolves. Tuck these guys behind line of sight, sit them on an objective, and forget about them. If your opponent wants to drop some artillery on them or pop up in the backfield behind them to kill them, you know, that's more shots that aren't going at your dreadnoughts, which still end up helping. If you have 70 points, or even, you know, 105 points, I definitely recommend 2 units of 5 or even 3 units of 5. What you can do is just try to hold the backfield, spread them out, since the new unit coherency rule doesn't affect you if you still only have 5 models. And these bases are actually pretty big. They're on like 40 millimeter bases. So you do the 2-inch coherency with their big bases and spread them out, all 3 units of 5 in the backfield. This is one tactic you can do with them that'll keep opponents from deep striking behind your line of dreadnoughts or, you know, line of vehicles full of infantry. However you run your Space Wolves, it's nice to have something in the backfield to keep opponents from deep striking behind you. And almost every mission has at least one home field objective, so it's nice to have something to leave behind if you're not running, you know, Long Fang Devastators or like a Predator. So the next way I use these guys is, because a pack of 5 only has 2 power level rating, with the new outflank rule, for 1 CP, you can outflank 3 packs of 5 because they're still under 9 power level. So that is very, very good. And let's go over some reasons why that can really, really help your game. So the first obvious thing is engage on all fronts, the secondary objective. Basically, if you are in 3 of the 4 table quarters, you get 2 victory points. And if you're in all 3, or if you're in all 4, you get 3 victory points. So with your basic army pushing forward to the midfield, kind of charging up the board, you're going to be in the first 2 quadrants for the most part, and you might, with a faster unit, be able to get into a 3rd table quarter. So say turn 1, you would get 2. And then on turn 2, you could take 1 of your 5 packs and outflank in the quadrant that no one's in, so that you make sure you get all 4 quadrants, so that you get 3 victory points. And then on turn 3, when everything has to come in, you take the next 2 packs and you put them in whatever quarters need models in them, whether that's based on you losing some models due to, you know, being killed, or you've just moved harder into one part of the board. You now have 2 packs on turn 3 to just quietly get in those table quarters and guarantee that engage on all fronts. You know, and if you're lucky, there could be no opponents around and you can just like get on an objective. Or maybe, you know, maybe there's something weak that you want to charge with your 5 pack. They are not good at killing things in packs of 5. They are solely there to help you get secondaries and board control, and, you know, maybe just not get tabled. If things are going bad, you can come on the board and just get behind walls and wait it out, especially if you have a big lead. So the next thing is to string them in front of your army. Let's say you're playing against Grey Knights or Thousand Sons. Those are the main 2. You put 3 packs of 5 in front of your army. They're fast enough, they're not going to slow down your dreadnoughts. They're not even going to slow down your transports full of blood claws or assault intercessors or whatever you have. And you move them in front of your army the whole way up. And because the psychic phase hits before the shooting phase, your opponent cannot kill them with guns to get them out of the way so that their smite hits your much, much better targets like your dreadnoughts or your transports. So, in effect, if you have enough of these guys and you're spread out in a certain way that you have them kind of closer to the part of your line that's going to get hit by all the mortal wounds, they can just tank all the smite. I mean, they'll die, but I mean, I'll tell you a little story. I was in a pretty epic game against Thousand Sons, and I knew he had this trick where he drops down with a sorcerer and terminators, and then he runs up the board right at me with Magnus. And basically, it's like an Alpha Strike mortal wound bomb. I mean, it's very powerful. I'm sure there's some kind of tournament nickname for it that you can find online. But I knew it was coming, so I think I had 2 units of 5 and a unit of 10 of these wolves. And I just wrapped a big line around all my dreadnoughts that were moving up the field. Magnus came, he got a super smite for 2d6 mortal wounds and wiped a whole pack of 5 wolves. Cool. 2 power level, 35 points. Good job, Magnus. Then the bomb dropped and killed the rest of my wolves, but I mean, maybe only a sorcerer or 2 were able to, after that, hit my dreadnought. And the closest dreadnought, the one that had to target, I popped Armor of Contempt, which is a 5-up kind of feel no pain against mortal wounds that Space Marine vehicles can do. And that's just super handy to have in your back pocket, that you know before the shooting phase, all of their smites have to hit these very, very, very cheap Fenrisian Wolves. They're only 7 points a model. So they soak up all that, and then you just make sure the next thing in line to get hit once all the wolves are dead is a vehicle, so that it can pop that stratagem and do way better at tanking the rest of those mortal wounds. So, to reiterate, every game, I at least have one unit to park on an objective, to get outflank, to help me with board control, and if I see that my opponent does lots of mortal wounds, I put them in front as fodder, basically, as bubble wrap. If you have an opponent that you know can cross the whole board on turn 1, such as Kraken Gene Stealers or Blood Angels with all their crazy shenanigans with their stratagems, you could do the same thing. Line up a unit of these in front. Now, most likely, they're going to get shot to death to get them out of the way so they can charge what they want to charge. But if they spend their shooting phase shooting at your stronger targets, they're going to end up only charging these wolves, which isn't the end of the world because they're so cheap. I mean, I'll have games where I decide between 300 killer missiles on my Leviathan Dreadnought or a full pack of 5 of these. And yes, the 300 killer missiles, if you roll good, could like pop a vehicle or a monster, but they're one shot only. I know they're about to go up to strength 10. But I still think a pack of these dogs just hiding on an objective is even better. I mean, think of all the top armies that aren't Space Marines. They typically have very cheap units to just plop on objectives, such as Chaos Cultists, Guardsmen, Gretchen. I mean, there are lots of Ripper Swarms for Tyranids. There are all kinds of armies that have very cheap units that they can just put on objectives and forget about, and you don't feel guilty about not using them. This is ours. And then when you line up your army to display in front of your opponent, the fact that you're the one Space Marine, if you're me, Primaris army that has just these random units of wolves in between the units of Space Marines just looks amazing. It's just the coolest thing. It'd be like Blood Angels having units of bat swarms since they're space vampires. You know, it's just awesome. And they're so cheap that you can just find a use for them. If you find yourself making lists and there's 35 points left over, throw a unit of 5 in. You'll like it. Even if they get shot and killed turn 1, it's units you can put out first before you start putting out your better units when you're alternating deployment. Okay, so there are some people out there that want to use these to fight with, and they really want to use them. So let me go over stratagems and character builds that you can use that synergize with large packs of these. And it can make for a fluffy, hilarious list, but I'm not sure how good it'd be, but we're still going to go over it. So, if you're dead set on running large packs of these with as much synergy and buffs as possible, and you want them to fight, just because it's, you know, the idea of large packs of wolves pouncing on, like, orc warriors sounds amazing. Or wolves, like, smashing headlong into, like, Tyranid Hormigons is just an insane image in my head, and it, you know, brings a big smile to my face. So the first thing I want to point out real quick is that Litanies of Battle just says target friendly Space Wolf unit. So all of these work on the Fenrisian Wolves. So you've got Canticle of Hate for reroll or add 2 to charge rolls and pile in 6. That's awesome. You've got the Space Wolves, Tale of the Wolf King and Lord of the Deeps, which would give you an extra damage against monsters or vehicles. So that's pretty cool. You've got the you can reroll. Let's see. Yeah, the basic one they come with, which is the reroll misses, which is good. But don't forget, for 1 CP, you have that Pack Hunter stratagem from Psychic Awakening to just give you full rerolls. If you don't want to worry about popping that all the time, you could just start off with the main man, Logan Grimnar, to give just flat out rerolls, which is always helpful. Plop a battle leader in there for reroll 1s to wound. And you can get these units up to 15 plus 1 side roll, so 16. So you're looking at 48 models if you just max those out. It wouldn't actually cost that much in terms of points. I mean, it could be a fun build. So let's go over a couple things that buff these guys. First off, Herald Deathwolf. He is a wolf lord that rides on a giant thunder wolf. He has all the normal wolf lord rules. What makes him kind of special is you can set up an outflank like with your wolves, which is cool. And then Lord of the Wolfkin. All friendly Thunderwolf units and friendly units of Fenrisian Wolves and Cyber Wolves within 6 inches use his leadership instead of their own. So he's got leadership 9. That could be super handy. As you know, these packs of wolves have terrible leadership. It's not the best, but if you want to just, make the most fluffy thematic list, clearly this guy should lead a bunch of wolves off of a flank into someone's flank. It'd be pretty awesome. They think they're fighting normal space wolves, and then a howl goes out, and all these wolves come off the flank and just smash into people. It's pretty cool. Next one is Canis Wolfborn. It is yet another special character on a giant thunderwolf. He's a little more feral. He's got 2 wolf claws. He likes to fight the same way his wolf fights. What makes him so special, though, is he has an ability called Born of Wolves. You can make 1 additional teeth and claws or crushing teeth and claws attack in the fight phase for all friendly models in Thunderwolf, Fenrisian Wolves, or Cyberwolf units that are within 6 inches at the start of the phase. So, all of a sudden your 2 attacks go up to 3 per model. So, you're looking at over 100 attacks. Or no, you're looking at 45. Yeah, that's not bad. Like 45 attacks per unit at strength 4, AP -1. You get some rerolls in there. It's not bad. I mean, it's a lot of points for these characters. The units themselves of Fenrisian Wolves aren't that much. The characters are. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys, or on our Facebook page or Instagram page if you have ever tried this. Just large packs of wolves. I heard a rumor that an early 9th edition tournament had some Imperial soup. With that soup, they had, a ton of units of Guardsmen. They had units of Skitarii. But then the 3rd detachment was 3 full packs of these. And the reason they did that is that between all these Fenrisian Wolves and all those units of Skitarii and Guard, they were able to push up the board and make it so your opponent could not deep strike anywhere on the board. Could not come on a flank. All they could do is push forward through all this, cannon fodder, through all these cheap troops to try to get to those objectives. Because if you've played any 9th, you know that going first and grabbing those objectives first is game winning. It's so game winning. You got to get on those objectives first. It used to be going first meant, oh man, I got to get hit with an alpha strike. Now going first is getting hit with an alpha strike and being behind on the objective game. So these wolves can help with that. Use them how you want to. They're fun and they're cheap enough that you can just take a unit because you had 35 points. I recommend it. Don't leave home without at least 1 unit. I love these guys. I'm not as big on the cartoonish Thunderwolves. The Cyberwolves are kind of goofy too. I just like the idea of running in between all the vehicles and transports are just wolves bounding along with the rest of your army because they heard the call and they're coming. And I just think, Ragnar surrounded by all those wolves just looks totally epic. I love it. But try it out, guys. Try to outflank them. Use them to help you with some secondaries. A lot of the wolves can't, or a lot of the secondaries that involve like planting banners and stuff like that, beasts can't do. But there are some that can do, and based on the mission and things like that. And they're a great unit for that too because they're so cheap. If you're playing Crusade and it's all about power level, these guys are so small in power level. They're only 2 power level. So you'll find a use for these guys, especially in those small games. Just put them on an objective. Let me know, guys. I can't be the only one who loves to use these models. I personally only own 20. I'd like to own the full max amount just to try it out someday because I think it would just be fun and dynamic and great to see on camera. So I'll probably still end up grabbing, 15 more to go for the full 45. Anyway, this is our next unit that we've gone through. I'll probably be going over another type of dreadnought next, just because I want to at least do all the units that I personally run before I go to the units that I don't run. This has been Nick from Beer and Bat Reps. If you're a Space Wolf player, I hope you've enjoyed this. If you're not a Space Wolves player and you just wanted to sit and hear some lore and some tactica, thank you for joining us. Hopefully we can get these wolves on the table here again pretty soon. I got a lot of armies waiting their turn to get battle reports up, but Space Wolves are always ready, and we always appreciate you guys watching and liking and subscribing. This is Nick from Beer and Bat Reps. Cheers, guys. Thank you.